Hi, I'm Jilly G. Welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how to make homemade tater tots. Gluten-free, of course. And the first thing I'm going to do is preheat my oven to 400. And I'll be showing you how to fry them in oil, and I'm also going to show you how to bake them. Sometimes you don't want to deal with deep frying anything, and the oven is just as good. So the first thing we need to do is get our potatoes ready. And I've got three, maybe medium-sized russet potatoes here. And so I just need to get them peeled. And then I do have a small saucepan here with some water and a little bit of salt. We need to par cook our potatoes first. And if you know me, usually I like to leave the skins on my potatoes. But when you're making something like a tater tot, the skins prevent the mixture of potatoes and spices from actually sticking together. And I suppose you could add an egg or something to the mixture to help it all stick together. But this way, it's just our few spices, a little bit of flour, and just the potatoes. And if you've never had a tater tot before, what they are is shredded potatoes that are partially cooked, squished together into a little, kind of a little log shape, and then fried or baked, and then you eat them kind of like French fries, some kind of side dish. But there's also so many different uses for a tater tot. Where I live here in Utah, they have a casserole called a tater tot casserole. And I know it's popular in other places too. So just one of the many uses besides just a side dish for tater tots. I think they also have a tater tot breakfast casserole as well. So now that I've got my potatoes all peeled, I'm going to rinse off my potatoes and get them in my boiling water. So I'm just going to drop them in, and they're covered by about, a half inch or so of water. And again, I do have some salt in there. And then we'll just bring this up to a boil and par cook them, which means you just partially cook them. I want them to be kind of fork tender, but not done all the way. And while that's coming up to a boil, I will clean up my mess. When your potatoes are kind of fork tender, you can't stick the fork all the way in, but kind of. Then you'll know that they're parboiled. And that was maybe 6 or 7 minutes, maybe 8. Ooh. Jeez. Don't do that. I'm going to take these out of the water. And I've got a cooling rack over here. You don't need a cooling rack. So once your potatoes are cool enough to handle, I've got my salad shooter here. But you don't have to use a salad shooter. You can use just a regular cheese grater, whatever you've got. But a salad shooter just makes fast, easy work of shredding potatoes. And I'm just cutting them in half so they'll fit in my salad shooter. And then I'll show you, this is what it looks like to have a parboiled potato. You can see that it is partially cooked here, but still mostly raw in the middle. So I'm just going to get these shredded up and into this bowl. So now that we've got our potatoes in here, and if you've ever done something with potatoes like this before, you know that they are really sticky. And this is what helps them stick together to make them tater tots. And I find the easiest way is to just mix it with our hands. So I've got 1 tablespoon of my gluten-free flour, and then I've got 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of pepper, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1 teaspoon of onion powder. All in there. This is where you can add in whatever spices or seasonings that you like. So once you've got your potatoes and spices all mixed together, I do have a little bowl of olive oil. And then I've got a cookie sheet here lined with paper towels, and then I have this cookie sheet that I've lightly greased with some of this olive oil. And this little bowl of oil is to help this mixture not stick to my hands so much. So you just pick up the amount that you would like for the size of your tater tot, and you really want to squish it together. And once you get it squished and it's holding together, then you can kind of shape it into the little log shape. And then I've got a plate here that I can place them on while they're waiting to go into the fryer or into the oven. The ones for the oven will just go straight on the cookie sheet. So just pick up a little bit of a handful here and then really just start squeezing it together. And then once you've got it really squished together, this is where you can kind of shape it into the little logs. And do your best to try to make them all the same size. And if you notice that your hands are getting way too sticky, just put on a little bit more oil. And I think the most important thing is to really make sure to squish it together. That is really what helps it stay in its shape. And you'll notice I do have some little straggly potatoes, and that's fine, but you really want to make sure that they are nice and firmly packed into this little shape. And once you get going, it really is easy to mostly make them the same size. And this is something that normally I would do a really large batch. To me, it's the same as anything I've mentioned so many times before. If I'm going to spend all the time and the effort to make something like this, I'm going to do as many as I can. And these freeze really, really well. And the nice thing about these is once they're baked or fried and they're cooled off, you can just put them in a freezer bag or some kind of Tupperware container and stick them in the freezer. And then whenever you're ready to use them, you just reheat them in the oven to help crisp them up again. And you might be asking yourself, why on earth would you go to all of this trouble to make something that you can buy already made? But this way, as with most things, I know exactly what goes into it. And I can change the flavor anytime I want. So I've got 9 tater tots to go into the oven and 9 tater tots to fry. I'm going to get everything cleaned up and then I'll start my oil heating. While my oil is heating up, I'm going to get these in the oven. Careful, they will roll around on the cookie sheet. So I'm going to set my timer for 15 minutes and then we'll flip over the ones that are in the oven. Got a little spatula there. Once we flip them over, we'll just continue baking till they're crispy. If you have a setting on your oven like I do that is a quick bake, which means it's fan assisted, that will really get them crispy a little bit faster. But I know not everybody has an oven like that, so I just want to show you that it can be done in just a regular oven. And then once your oil is nice and hot, the first one you could drop in with just your fingers, but once it starts bubbling up like this, your hand is going to be awfully close to that hot oil. So I find the easiest and safest way is to just use my really long-handled spoon to drop them in the oil. And because I'm only frying 9 today, these will all fit in the pan just fine without crowding the pan. And once my oil is hot like this and my tater tots start frying, I am going to turn the heat down to about medium. This way it will maintain the temperature, but it won't just keep getting hotter. And then very carefully turn these around, make sure they're not sticking to each other. So my fried potatoes are almost done, but let's check on our oven tater tots. Just want to very carefully flip them over. And then these will go back in the oven. I'm going to set my timer for another 15 minutes. And then once your fried tater tots are golden brown like this, I'm going to remove them to my cookie sheet lined with paper towels. To sprinkle on a little bit of salt when they first come out of the oil. It's a lot bigger cookie sheet than I needed for this many tater tots, but that's all right. And then while these are cooling off and my oven tater tots are finishing, I've got in this little bowl, I've got some ketchup, some barbecue sauce, and some mayonnaise. And this is what we call here in Utah fry sauce. You could dip your tater tots in whatever you like. You could do ranch dressing. You could do a different kind of dressing, or just ketchup. But I sure love fry sauce. I'd eat fry sauce on just about anything. And traditionally, fry sauce is made with just ketchup and mayonnaise, but I like to put in a little dash of barbecue sauce. It's been another 15 minutes, and I'm just going to flip over my oven tater tots again. Baking these in the oven, it does take a little bit longer, but they're still just as delicious. We just want them to get a little bit crispier. So I'm going to go another 15 minutes. So my tater tots have gone another 15 minutes, and they're getting really nice and crispy. Not exactly like a fried tater tot, but a really good oven tater tot. So while these ones cool off, I can taste my fried ones there, and then we can taste these ones when they cool off a little bit. Let's get a few here. Pretty crispy. And this is a really good amount for, oh, maybe 2 to 3, maybe even 4 people if you have a nice well-balanced meal with some other vegetables and other things. But side by side, you could definitely tell the difference. But either way, they sure look good. And then I've got my fry sauce here, so let's give these a bite. And even though they do look a little craggy and raggedy around the edges, I don't mind. Super crispy on the outside. I'm going to double dip. Super crispy on the outside, but really soft in the middle. Full of potatoes, because they are potatoes. Let's break open one of these ones. And again, same thing. Potatoes. Let's give these ones a bite. So good. And you know, the interesting thing is, I think the baked ones actually have a little bit more flavor. I can taste my onion and garlic powder and the salt and pepper a little bit more in the baked ones as opposed to the fried ones. I think the biggest thing is how crispy you like them to be. You could keep baking these longer and then flip them on all sides and get them as crispy as these ones, but I think this is just perfect. They're soft in the middle and crispy on the outside. Not as crispy as the deep fried ones, but they're both equally delicious. And these freeze so well. That would make a super fast, easy weeknight dinner. And again, you can make these whatever flavor you want them to be. Let me know if you make this recipe and if you prefer baked or fried. And of course, whatever dipping sauce that you like to go with something like this that's very similar to a French fry. And even though there is a little bit of work that goes into it, they really don't take that long to make. And if you make a lot of these at one time, then you can just store them in the freezer. These go great with dinner. You could even serve these alongside some scrambled eggs or something like that and have a breakfast with these. Any meal, these would be delicious. And I wanted to say thank you to all of the new subscribers that I've recently got. I'm so happy to have you here. And thank you so much for everyone that always watches my videos, always comments, and everyone that is just here supporting my channel. I can't say thank you enough. I'm so happy to have you all here. And for those of you that are new here to my channel, maybe you haven't noticed, but I do have a cookbook. The link is in my description box below. And I've got a soft cover and a hard cover here. It's also available in a Kindle version. But thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have any questions or comments, let me know, and I'll see you on the next one.